Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders and bishops of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and continually teach us this truth. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect that's laboring in his word and truth sincerity. Lord willing, this could be an edifying video. All right. It's not going to be a long video. I've seen reports that 3,500 Marines just touched down in the Middle East. All right. It's a lot of talks of them getting ready to do a ground war to take, I think it's called Karg Island, because they're trying to open the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. And, Yemen, they have officially joined the war. They hit Israel with a ballistic missile. I'm seeing videos, Hezbollah caught Israeli soldiers lacking. So this thing is blowing up, and it's not going to die down. Okay, they're still doing attacks on Iran, and Iran is hitting back. Okay, they just hit a base in Saudi Arabia that they say injured over 15 U.S. soldiers. Okay, and Iran is saying that they killed over 500 soldiers, which, we ain't gonna hear the truth of that here. But, it's a lot going on. Okay, it's a lot going on. It's gonna keep escalating. All right, and there will be a draft. Okay, and I was speaking with some Edomite women last night, about it, and they're afraid. They're afraid of this war. I was asking them, I was like, how do y'all feel about the situation, the war that's going on? And they don't like it. Then they was asking me how I felt, and I was telling them, I was like, they're going to draft women too. And, they, Salakia, the look on their face, man, was priceless. Okay. So what's going down, man? All right. And it will get to a point where, there's going to be a shortage of men here. And over there in Ukraine, they're just grabbing dudes up, man. They going in their homes, grabbing them, throwing them in vans, driving off and shit, And Lord willing, that happens here, man. Okay, but this is 2nd Esdras chapter 16, verse 33. It says, the virgin shall mourn having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn having no helpers. In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. So in today's time, as of right now, you have a lot of women claiming they independent, claiming they don't need a man. They live in the illusion that they don't need a man. Well, it's going to get bad to where there ain't really going to be men out here, to where women going to wish that they had a man. All right. And if you have a husband, he going to get sent overseas, man. Okay. And the first ones that they're going to come for is, they said, between the ages 18 and 25. All right. So it's going to be a lot of college students, getting sent to die in this war, man, to where there will be a shortage of men. Okay. To where men will become valuable. But the real men that will become valuable, Salakia, I said it right. Yeah, which the real men are the servants of Yahweh Bahashem and Yahweh Shai. Okay, you brothers that believe on the Lord, man, your value is about to skyrocket. See, the standards now. You got these women. They want a guy that's over 6 foot tall. He got to have this amount of money. He got to have status, and he gotta be popping on the internet. Well, the brothers in this truth, we're for the most part, regular, what you would call regular Joes. We ain't really heavy on social media like that. Our whole thing is, we do this work. And our brothers do got, social media, but we're not popular in this world. Okay, but our value is getting ready to skyrocket, man, because we know why these things are happening, and we're loving it. Okay, while people are beginning to mourn at what's going on. And it's only going to intensify. Okay, it's going to get to a point where, the countenance of a man of the Lord is going to be interesting. Why is this guy not affected like I am, like everybody else? Why is he not panicking? Why is he not afraid? Why does it seem like he's so stable? Why? Matter of fact, let me grab that real quick. These are things that people are going to notice on the men of the Lord. They're going to notice that, you have your sanity and you're not freaking out like everybody else. This is Isaiah chapter 33, verse 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. So us knowing that these things were coming and why they're happening is going to keep us stable. And then the Lord, he's going to show great mercy on his elect, man. He's going to take care of his elect. Okay, he's going to give his servants food, water, shelter. He's going to take care of his men. All right, Isaiah the 65th chapter goes into that. My servant shall eat and drink and rejoice and sing for joy of heart. Because we want this place to go down, man. All right, that's the only way Yahweh Shai is going to come. Okay, this place has to go down. All right, which the MOTB, of course, has to be made mandatory before, this place fully gets destroyed by thermonuclear destruction, which is the second death. Okay. So, we know these things are going to happen. And that's why we're in the spirit of, rejoicing, as we seeing these things play out. Because, for years, man, beginning with our apostles and elders on down, and the men they learn from, for years, the prophets have been saying that, there would be a third war and it's all according to the scriptures. I remember, man, Apostle Tahar, he's always said, keep your eyes on the Middle East. Okay. And we're seeing it go down, man. Okay. And now you got Zelensky meeting in, I think it was the UAE, and they're making deals, military deals, forget exactly it's something to do with missile defenses or something like that. So this war is spiraling into a third war because, as we know, Russia has been at war with Ukraine for a few years, which, it's a proxy war between NATO and Russia. I mean, yeah. So them doing that while Iran is at war with those different regions, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and now they just destroyed a missile defense system in Jordan, with drones, it's spiraling into a third war. Okay. So, this is beautiful. All right. But, going back to the point, during these times, you brothers, your value is going to skyrocket. Okay. Because you have this truth. And because you made the Lord your refuge. This is Isaiah chapter 13, verse 10. I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than a golden wedge of Ophir. So in today's time, men aren't looked at as valuable. Women are looked at as the prize. They actually believe they're the prize, man. So it's going to get so bad to where a servant of the Lord is going to be, the prize. It's going to be more precious than the best gold. Okay, because the Lord is going to have his men well taken care of. Okay, they're going to have all the resources, all right, all the understanding and wisdom of what's going on and why it's going on and what it's going to lead to, just the answers to everything, man. Okay, and being around the servants of the Lord will give you comfort. I spoke with certain guys and, they might have been going through something. And they told me, like, after speaking with you, man, I feel good, which, all the praise go to Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, but just using that as an example, okay, people are going to feel comforted, being around the servants of the Lord. And that's why women are going to want to be with brothers, okay, because they're going to be afraid. See, fear has to come upon these people. Okay, fear of how am I gonna eat? Am I gonna survive today? I don't want to die. Those type of thoughts. You know, you know what I'm saying? Then we gonna see what a real woman is, man. Because these women today, they're not women, man. They're just, for the most part, skeezers. And they all got pride. They all got an ego. But that's all gonna change when survival kicks in. Okay. So this is Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Let me grab that in the NLT. Because I like what it says. It says, in that day, so few men will be left, right? Because as we read in 2nd Esdras, the 16th chapter, it's going to be a shortage of men. All right, a lot of these men going to die getting sent to war, or they're going to die of famine, or they're going to die by the sword. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a shortage of men. It says, in that day, so few men will be left that 7 women will fight for each man. And 7 is just a number of completion. You can have 10 wives, 15 wives, because they're going to be coming by the boatloads, and brothers going to have to pick of the litter, man. You're going to be picking. You're going to be choosing. You're going to choose who you want. If you want them to get in a line and and one at a time, give allow them a chance to explain why should you take them. You could do that, man, because we going to be the one, we going to be picking. See, they pick, they got, inbox flooded, DMs flooded, guys approaching them wherever they go. So they pick and choose who they want to deal with. But in that day, when all hell fully breaks loose, we going to be picking and choosing, man. And they're going to be willing to share. Okay, they're going to be willing to share you, man. Okay, she's not going to care if she's wife number 7 or she's wife number 8. She's just going to want to be your wife, because you will have the protection of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. Okay, it says 7 women will fight for each man, saying, let us all marry you. See? So they're going to want to share you. They're not going to care how many women you got. Which women, they love men that get women. They're not attracted to a guy who women don't want. And that in itself, tells you that it's normal for a man to have more than one woman. All right, because a real man is not going to want a woman that every dude and been with, a bunch of dudes that shot off in her. You might hit, but you ain't about to be with this woman unless you just a loser. But if she's been ran through, a real man ain't gonna want that. But if a woman knows that a guy gets a lot of women, they want him, man. So it says, let us all marry you. We will provide our own food and clothing. Only let us take your name, so we won't be mocked as old maids. So, they're going to come in that spirit of, I won't slow you down. You don't have to worry about feeding me. You don't have to worry about, me being a burden. Just let me be your wife. I'll take care of myself. So that's how humble these women are going to be. They're going to be brought low through adversity. Okay? And that's what it's going to take. All right? So, brothers about to win, man. All right? We in a season of victory, man, for brothers that's been diligent, that's been serving Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai diligently. All right? We in a season where the Lord is about to show his power, man. Okay? Miracles, spiritual power is closer than we know. We in a time of winning, man. All right? So, Lord willing, this was a edifying video. With that, I'm going to say shalom.